Sleeves with the Senior Pickleball Report, powered by TNC Network. Let's get it going. This week in our People of Pickleball series, we speak with APP Pro Megan Fudge. Megan basically plays all three tours, if you will. She plays in the APP, PPA, and MLP. She's mainly on the APP with her husband, Riley DeHart, and they travel the country from event to event with their children in their RV. So they basically live in their RV, which is pretty cool, from a guy who lives in a yurt. All right, but before we get to that, check out all the links in the description, including our newsletter, our merch page, which has discounts, all the discounts below on paddles, balls, shoes, you name it. Also, check out Crown Pickleball. Love Crown, great pro level ball at a very, very reasonable price and high quality product. And love what Kevin's doing down there. And he's also getting into paddles as well. So check out Crown. All right, let's get to that chat with Megan. All right, Megan Fudge, welcome to the Senior Pickleball Report. Good to have you on the show. Great to see you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, so obviously we'll get into the Indian Open and your whirlwind trip and all the things that happened with that trip in a minute. A couple things I want to get out of the way. One, we'll start with you getting into this crazy game of pickleball like we've all kind of fallen into. But before we even get into that, I was going through your Twitter, and I went to the University of Wisconsin. So this whole Illini for life bullshit.
Hey, go Big Ten. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, there we go. We can have that in common. Go Big Ten. Right on.
we can claim Caitlin Clark then too. So she's Iowa.
That's true. That's true. That's true. That's right. Okay, so let's talk about really, obviously, you played high level tennis, D1 tennis at Illinois, and then somehow this game has found you, and next thing you know, you're playing in India. So really, how did this game come into your life?
I honestly, it seems absolute whirlwind from hearing about the game during COVID via YouTube, and to Ryla being like, hey, let's find something to do together again as a couple. I was working as an insurance agent. He's coaching on the tennis court. They were kind of looking for something to do together. And people kept on mentioning pickleball, kept on talking about pickleball. And we're like, this pickleball thing is not leaving us alone. We were supposed to find this sport, or this sport's supposed to find us. And so we gave it a try and just absolutely loved it. I mean, we played in our driveway, chalked up a court during COVID, and definitely were even more intrigued by it. But not until we moved to St. Pete and were looking for a social outlet, an opportunity to meet people, just like most people, how they found pickleball. It's a desire to meet people, being social as a couple, or just even as a single person, to kind of go out and meet others. And that was the same as our story. We went to a club close by that offered pickleball. We stepped out there, kind of put ourselves out there thinking we'd be so good at this. We just got killed. But that was the intriguing part. It actually made us want to play more. And we're like, oh my gosh, this is harder than it looks, and this could be really fun for something for us to do together. And 3 years later, and we're traveling not just through America, but we're traveling world and ambassadors for the sport and helping grow the sport. And it's just absolute mind blowing.
Yeah, obviously, it's one thing to take up the game like a lot of us have over the last few years, but it's another thing, obviously, to play on the pro tour and live in and out of your RV with your kids. Talk a little bit about how that's been, and how your family's dealing with, obviously, sort of this rock star life, living in and out of the tour bus.
Yeah, the tour bus, exactly. A mothership, we call it.
Right on.
We the first year on the tour, on the pro tour, we had so many flights, hotels, Airbnbs, with two kids under the age of 7 at the time. It was just hard. I mean, it was just we were embracing it and enjoying it at the same time. I was like, I don't know if we can maintain this. Like, if this is actually something we desire to do, and I feel like we could do and want to do, it all has to like be more in balance. And I felt out of sync a little bit, and I felt pulled in too many directions, whether I was, creating enough stability for our family, for the kids. And so like this idea of like, okay, how do we take our home on the road with us?
Right.
It just kept on popping up. This question kept on reoccurring for me and Ryler, of like when we were reassessing the situation, like, okay, this worked well, but something's still missing, something's off, something's out of sync. And so I was like, oh, what about an RV? And I was like, are you kidding me? We're not moving into an RV. We're not traveling an RV. Like, and then like a couple of weeks later, the RV idea came up again, and it was like, maybe we can look at one, like, and then it was like, okay, let's go actually look at some. And then the next thing we knew, we were driving home in an RV. And so it's an evolving thing. We try to consistently like think about it and assess it, and see if it makes sense for us. And it just kind of snowballed from there for us. And last year, full time on the road, we gave up our house, and we had Salvation Army come and take all furniture and everything. So we don't own anything else besides what's in our RV at this time. And we're like, it's probably a whole nother podcast to talk about, but the freedom is very, very liberating. The freedom of not having anything that's holding us back or what, like, it was just very liberating. And then having the aspect of just the freedom to go anywhere and to follow our dream of playing pickleball and taking the kids around the country, seeing, going to national parks. We went to Yosemite Valley. We went to Statue of Liberty. We've done a bunch of ranger programs with the kids. We, met so many people on so many different sports and facilities. And we've just met all these incredible people on our journey. And it's been surreal. Like, while everybody, kind of like, they always ask me like, oh, your medal count and your ranking. And I'm just like, it's such a small, like, that's just a small, like, scratching of the surface. That's just the tip of the iceberg of what last year was for us. There was so much more to it, but it's been incredible. It's been so amazing. While there's always been, bumps in the road, it's not just smooth sailing in an RV. Like lots of things happen. And we've definitely had to adapt to many different obstacles, but that's life. I mean, that's kind of the lesson I also teach our kids. Like, it's smooth sailing. Life isn't like that. And that's what we hope, that through pickleball and through RV life, that they become well-rounded human beings.
Yeah. I mean, what an exceptionally refreshing outlook. I can relate a little bit to this. My wife and I, we were high school teachers for a long time. And then about 12 years ago, we left our jobs, and we live off grid in a yurt with our cat and dog in the middle of nowhere. And there just happens to be some dilapidated pickleball courts. But you mentioned the word liberating, and that's ultimately what it was for us. We just, we felt like we just had more control over our time and our day than we normally had going and showing up to a building, even though we love teaching. Just that freedom of like kind of putting time in front of some other things was life-changing, obviously. So,
that's awesome.
Right on.
Yeah.
So obviously, when you go to another country, that has an impact as well. And I can tell just from our conversation prior to going on here that there's obviously a ton of things you're going to have to process, reflect on, and look back on. But like, give me kind of the genesis of how this happens, because, obviously the APP tour you play on the most is really, really going global. And I love kind of the approach the APP is taking, going the youth route and the college route, the senior route and the international route, besides the domestic tour. So talk about how this trip sort of came together for you.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of started last year when I first met with Intersport at the beginning of last year, and they explained a bit more about their vision. They gave me some insight of what they foresee for the future. They couldn't tell me what the timeline would be because it was just hard to tell at the time. But we as a family and me as an individual definitely aligned with where they were heading, and that's kind of like that kind of planted a seed for us. The next kind of big starting point was then the English Open last year. That was supported and by the APP tour. Ken Herman took his next gen team over there, along with some of the top touring pros for the APP tour.
Right.
Andre Diesco was supposed to come, Riley DeHart, Rob Nunnery. We all headed over to the English Open to support this vision and all our vision to hopefully, to create a bigger, broader spectrum of professional athletes around the world in pickleball. And so going over, over 1,000 people played. It was at a huge convention center in Telford, which is not anywhere close to London. People were like, "Oh, you went to London?" I was like, "No, this is Telford, like this in the middle of nowhere." But there was 1,000 to play pickleball there. Like, it was so cool.
Right.
Very a lot of different countries represented, including some players from India were there. A group of players together with Pickleball United that are based in Chicago, an organization that does like the pickleball rollout courts backed by Prague. So that's kind of a little bit of connection, that kind of a bit of background there. So come a couple months ago, they then reached out and were like, "Hey, we have the Indian Open. Would you come?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, Riley, like I would love to. I'd love to go to India. Like, imagine taking the kids, like, let's go play pickleball in India." And he was like, "You're crazy. Like, what are you thinking?" Like, "What, India?"
Live in an RV.
Yeah. He's like, "You realize we're going to have to get on an airplane for this, right?" Very long journey. No, we were super excited about the opportunity, but with all these contract negotiations going on, and definitely set up more obstacles for us than we had hoped.
Sure.
So it was not till very last minute that we could actually commit to the logistics team, the tournament director, who one of them is a Bollywood producer and filmmaker. And so he was super nice, incredibly understanding of our situation. They are very aware of what is happening in the States with player contracts and tour wars and everything. So they understood our situation and were very patient of, maintaining the conversation. And literally, I was able to tell him the weekend prior to leaving on that Tuesday, "I'm coming." Like, it was literally that. And fully can commit to being there in person with the kids signing up in the junior event, and Rylan and myself playing 4 different events, and having Anna and Andre and there as well. I mean, like, it was pretty wild, and it was amazing that we were able to pull it off.
But I mean, it is.
We met people there that share this vision of global sports, of global pickleball. I mean, there were 18 different countries represented in this tournament. There were over 700 participants. Over 2,200 matches were played in 5 days. There were over 60 junior players in the event. I mean, like, these are the kind of things, like, I think it was so just like eye-opening that this is not just an American sport anymore. This is not just like phenomena going on through America with APP, PPA, MLP. Like, this is something way bigger than we got to realize. Like, it's not just about 1 or 2 players we're talking about. This is like about the sport of pickleball and how we can make an impact on the world scene. And I mean, they just did such a good job of getting press out there, media out there. I mean, this was their pickleball explosion. Like, this was their way to like bring it to the billion people that they have. Incredible. It was so cool how they put it on, how they envisioned it, how they executed, who they wanted to bring in, what countries they wanted out there, from European countries, from players from Africa, from all over Asia, from and America too, and to bring everybody together to compete, to play, to connect, to team up was just really, really exciting and exhilarating, and it kind of all made us feel bigger than just this, hitting a plastic ball, like.
For sure. It is. It's amazing what has happened. I mean, obviously, you've touched on a couple big things. And, obviously the domestic game, the game taking off here over COVID and things like that. People that were playing in 2016, 2017, I can't imagine on some level they saw what was coming in the U.S., let alone, I don't know if some of the folks that are involved, in what we do, me on this end and you playing pro, what's coming next? Because I think, as you mentioned, once this sport takes off, and in particularly, obviously in Asia, like you were playing and things like that, look out, because maybe in the next 4 to 5 years, some of the names we've been talking about, we won't be talking about, and there'll be a whole host of new players that are coming from different backgrounds and different sports. I mean, I just watched the live stream that was ended, and I was fast forwarding through, and just to see who was out there and who was playing, and it's high level ball, like out of the gate. So talk about that.
Watch the men's doubles final. I mean, the two Indian guys that were in the final against Rob and Andre being multi-gold medalists on the APP tour, and Andre being also among some of the top players in the world, also considering PPA tour too. They literally took them to 11-9 in the third. I mean, it was it could have been on any tour event, and they were playing phenomenal pickleball. It wasn't just like a bang bang, let's see if we can wing it kind of thing. They knew what they were doing, and it was fun to watch, and the crowd got behind it, and it, they weren't. It was super exciting. I mean, pickleball has only been in India for, they've been aware of it for like 11 months. Within 11 months, they've gone 15 pickleball courts to 250 pickleball courts. They now have 250. I mean, it's just like the possibilities there are endless. The investors that are coming in, the organizations, the people that are behind it that want to make this happen are eager, and they are invested, and they're coming for it, and so I just think that we need to really keep our eyes open for the Asia market and the Asia pickleball scene, because they have much stronger background in racket sports than the Americans. You would say, to badminton, table tennis, squash. I mean, and even cricket to a point. Like they are very, very competitive. And the junior scene was very, very strong there. And I think I was super impressed. I was so excited with a few different touches and tactics involved, and they are building academies over there. Unlike in America, we don't really talk about pickleball academies, but in India, they're very eager to put some academies in and have coaches come over and teach them the right way and create this platform for their junior players. And it's going to be something really big, very, very soon.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you throw China into that mix and all the rumors going on about how they're starting to build a program, and I can't imagine what this game is going to look like in the next 5 to 10 years, because you bring a lot of folks in, and suddenly there's new techniques, new styles, new strategies, things nobody's ever thought of, like, oh, we should try that. And that's what I'm excited about, because obviously, you have the three tours here, and it's all, people intermixing, and you see the same style of players, and, everybody's kind of doing the same things. But I'm really fascinated to see, like, once people that have played high level, and a bunch of badminton players come in, a bunch of table tennis players come in. You mentioned cricket, which is another high hand-eye coordination sport. What is going to look like down the road, and this becomes an Olympic thing, and, academies starting. I think we're going to look back like we do now. We look back at, like, if you put on YouTube and you watch a pro match in 2016, you're like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
And it's the same in tennis. You look back at, like, the 90s or the 80s, you're like, come on. And we may be looking back at 2023, 2024, and 5 years from now going, remember that? Sleeves Senior Pickleball Report, reminding you to check out our podcast, People of Pickleball. That's where I speak with all the people in pickleball, the industry, players, team owners, apparel creators, people that run organizations, people that create apps, you name it. We're talking to them on People of Pickleball. It's in the playlist of our YouTube channel. It's our podcast. Check it out. Lots of good information there. and lots of really cool folks doing amazing things.
You can also catch our podcast on Spotify and Amazon. Check out the link in the description.
Listen, just alone this week, I actually got on court with a Japanese player that's over here. He's one of Scott Moore's prodigies. Like, he's trying to bring pickleball to Japan. And this kid, I want to say kid, he's 29 years old, almost 30. Yeah. He comes from soft tennis. And I'm telling you, he has strokes that I have not seen before. And they're extremely... And that is like, I'm just like, yeah, this is going to be facing. This is what we're going to be up against. And they are eager. Right. I mean, he's working his butt off right now. He's been playing months. I mean, he's going to play 5-0 next week at the PPA Mesa. And they're coming. They are coming, and they're going to be coming in masses. And it's going to be fun. One of the other things I wanted to talk about was, I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but on Sunday, we had a team component. So we had a team. We were allowed to create our own teams. So we went with our original folks. We went with Ryler, Rob, Andre, Susanna, and myself. And in different teams. And the cool thing was that they had Fans Play. It's an app for a fantasy pickleball team. Live the same time, and it's this new platform for basically like fantasy football for pickleball. There was a huge LED screen on center court that was showing live stats while we were playing. The live board of the spectators that had picked out their players and teams, their live score, who was in first place, what they have done, what they'd picked, was going on right there. All the courts each had a guy monitoring with a tablet, and he was putting in the results, the winners, the other areas, the third shot drop, ATPs, and you would get a certain amount of points for certain things. And I'm telling you, it was the funnest thing. It was
wow.
It was contact we haven't seen yet here in America. Why have we not seen that here? And we can, for their first big tournament in India, and it's a huge. And it was so fun. People were able to were getting back matches, which they knew none of the players, but they had picked them for the fantasy league because they wanted to. And they're like, fun. It gave another, something else to be excited about. Spectators, another aspect behind, and the outreach. There were people signed in for players that weren't even present. They hadn't even been at the tournament all week, but they're like, hey, I'll do that. I'll pick a player. Together team.
Right. Yeah. What a great way to interact if you're not even a player it's almost like gaming. You sort of pick a character and you build off of it, and you can see all their stats and what they're capable of doing. Megan Fudge, great backhand,
Exactly. I mean, endless possibility there. It's called Fans Play. It's an app that's literally like in the beta phase right now of finishing their testing, but they're going to bring it to the States. And it's a guy, Aman from India, who did the programming in 8 weeks, who had this concept and idea, and he wrote the program himself, and he was there, and we were talking to him, vision for it with an AI camera that's going to pick up all the data points. I mean, I'm just like, oh my God, this is amazing.
I know. And I think part of that too, I think what's happened with you, which is great, is, in the US here, because this is being such a domestic game, and we sort of live in this bubble of this is pickleball. And like I mentioned earlier, I don't think we have any idea, just like that wave of like all of a sudden everybody's playing pickleball here. I think this wave that's coming, that you've experienced firsthand, like you've been on the edge, you sort of peer behind the curtain a little, and you're like, oh shit.
Seriously, Mike, like that I feel right now. Like going in there, I'm like, oh my gosh, my eyes have just been like this, the possibilities, things that the innovation that's coming to our game, we have no idea. We had this is something that it can be so huge, and with people coming in at the right time, it's going to be fun. It's going to be so fun.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, do you see this? I mean, obviously, you have countries starting their own tours. You have states starting their own leagues. Oklahoma started a pro league. Arizona has a pro league. Australia has an MLP. Do you see like tennis eventually that there is a global tour?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I spoke to the Europeans. They have in England, they have a Premier League for pickleball going on right now. In Australia, I'm so excited to start watching MLP Australia. And see, they met a lot of the players that from Asia. They're playing in the MLP Australia. They were talking about how excited they are to go play. And there's like this is I mean, it's going to be fun. People are going to get behind it. It's not just going to be the pickleball fanatics. It's going to be people that are getting to know the sport. Like we're educating them with this coverage and with this input, and we can make this sport what tennis hasn't been able to do. Like tennis. Yeah. I'm an original tennis lover, and I still love tennis. I still watch tennis. Yeah. We missed certain aspects in tennis to make it exciting for everybody. Part of because of the time constraint of it and how long it takes to do those aspects. And we can do this right in pickleball. We can do it it can last 15, 20 minutes because that's all everybody's attention span. Like that is right. Exciting. Like we can make it a team aspect and have all these different components. And it's there's endless possibility. We just have to get moving in the right direction. And especially when it comes to the whole MLP PPA merger, that was obviously a hot topic where we were out there, what we think, what's happening to their investors a little bit too over there. And honestly, like the longer this is going to go on, the longer it's going to hurt pickleball investment because they, all over media, all over people talking about when it comes to this, it's just like, get something done. Like, I understand that component, the longer we stall, whatever decision will be, the longer we stall this, the more we're going to hurt ourselves. And the drama we're creating with it, investors don't want to be part of that. We don't want this negative vibe around it that we can't think an event moving or, we're stuck on some contract negotiations. Like, let's play pickleball. Like, let's already, and whatever, maybe I'm not behind the closed doors. I'm not in those meetings and I'm, signed with MLP, but I'm just like, at this point, let's make a decision and get on with it and keep playing pickleball.
Yeah. And that's the thing, I've been part of a documentary for the last 2 years. I'm actually narrating a documentary that's coming out on some streaming service probably this spring. And, we just had to end the film eventually because it just kept going. We're like, does it end? And we ended the film like 4 times. I say we, I was hired, to narrate and brought in to narrate, but it was like, does it end here? And then it's like, no, there's a little more. And, I think the last thing I shot for them was like in December, but so much has happened since then that it's like, it's sort of like the young and the restless. It's just like watching a soap opera going over and over and over again. And a lot of it from the outside, whether it is or not, seems very petty. So I do hope we can come to a place where the grownups in the room, kind of get things going here, and we at least get a merger, or we don't get a merger, but we're moving on and we're doing something else. Yeah, which is one of the reasons I really appreciate a couple things. I really appreciate the APP and their approach. Everybody was like, "Oh, they backed off," the last couple of years, and I'm like, "No, they're just doing other things. They're mining areas that are full of gold and full of things that obviously you've experienced." And the other thing is, I'm highly involved with the senior game because my channel is called Senior Pickleball Report. So I've dealt a lot with the National Pickleball League, which started in the last year. And it was so refreshing to see a functional group where people were happy and being treated like professionals and left events smiling and were treated well and things were on time. And I was like, there are places out there where we can look at models and go, that works and that doesn't. And that's why I was, I'm kind of leading to this. I was really glad to see your work sort of with Dane Gingrich, because he's a senior and he's going to be playing in an MPL. And I think that's an avenue and a resource and a tool that hopefully the open tour players and in those tours can look at, because these folks have, been very successful, not only in their playing, but in their professional lives as well. And so it is an area where you can tap for knowledge. And I think that's the benefit what NPL has is they don't have to have and go out and hire a bunch of people. They have an in-house, all these people, people were lawyers, people were in marketing, people were in accounting. So it's refreshing to see that. And that's why I like watching what the APP is doing, because they've kind of stepped back from the fray and are like, we're going to go do this. And they've done some unbelievably cool things, like obviously the English Open and the Indian Open, which you've been involved with. So,
and there's more and more things going to be getting announced in the next couple of weeks, actually, from the APP. that we've been able to, listen in on and hear them out a little bit while we are traveling with them around the world. We get a little bit more insight on those things. And I know a lot of people question the AP, where they question my decision making, our decision making as players, and I think we all had to kind of choose our route and choose our path. And I don't take decisions lightly. I try to think, not just a 1 year plan, but a 3 to 5 year plan of where
game.
I'm going. Marathon, right? I'm not trying to just play one tournament this weekend. And no, I think I'm excited. I've always been excited and honored to be part of the APP family. I do believe in the product. I believe in Pickleball Global. I believe in so many fun and exciting things that pickleball can create and bond people and ignite this love of like sports and at the same time I get to travel the world with my kids and they get to make a ton of friends. Same language, or they just speak the language of pickleball. That was so cool. Me, just a little bit of a story. When I was there, it's like we got there first day, got in super late. I was kind of like, there was heavy military at the airport. My kid was 9. She felt a little uncomfortable by seeing, heavy armed military.
Sure.
Street on as well. Like she was like, oh my gosh, like what is happening? She's my and went forward about 10 hours, we step onto the pickleball court and I just see her shoulders relax. As soon as we stepped onto the pickleball court, this was familiar territory. This was something she knew. It didn't matter who was on the other side. It didn't matter that we were in Mumbai. It didn't matter all the things like that were going on. It's like, I know what this is. This feels familiar. I'm safe. I'm good.
Yes.
And to see that and to know that my kids have that safe place and that familiarity and stability that they feel on that court, and that grounds them again was so cool. Like that was like, I'm like, okay, we can do this. Like, yes, it's going to be, hard. With third world country, they couldn't, drink the tap water. They had to brush their teeth with bottled water. They had to stay away from certain food. They had different spices and smells and stray dogs. Yeah. So all these things, but we've got to play pickleball there.
And that's the thing. And it's like, obviously I can't even imagine because, I've done some traveling like that, but in my 30s and 40s, you basically get there and it's like walking onto the moon, it's just a whole new world. You've just been in this tube that's just time traveled you for, whatever hours. And then you walk out and it's like, holy cow, where am I? Yeah. But I think like you mentioned, getting on the court, and then when you leave that court, you're a little more okay. You're grounded. You got your sea legs, and you're ready to roll a little bit. But I mean, something they'll never forget. Obviously, it's imprinted on their brain. And I mean, what an amazing experience, especially at that age.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that we're not missing the right time frame that they're too young to remember it all. But I just think those lifelong memories and definitely shout out to the Indian culture and the people that hosted us. I mean, they were so inviting, so welcoming. They were so fascinated by the Americans coming and so excited to have us there. And, I mean, when we were out and about sightseeing on Monday after the tournament, Lily started getting a little bit more uncomfortable again. I was like, everybody's staring at me. Everybody's staring. Like, I was like, why do you think that? Like, what makes you why, And she's like, well, I look different. Yeah, we are different here, and that's okay. They don't see us like us very often, so they are going to stare and they want to know why we're here, and so that those aspects of the world and the understanding of the situation and how if they came to America, how would they feel, and how we have to include them, and so just life lessons that. I hope that they can come away with just 2 or 3 things, and that made it for me.
Absolutely, and I think international travel is something that is you can't replace it. You can learn about all these things in school and read books, but until you go to a place and you step out onto the streets and you interact and you literally make yourself uncomfortable, and that's really when the learning starts. And to do it at an early age, I just think it opens up so many avenues because it drops that level of fear the next time it happens to you.
Yeah.
I didn't really travel much until later in my adulthood, and it's I had to catch up, but it did that first trip. You're like, okay. And, and it's not like you're in some resort. It's the first trip of like, yeah, there's stray dogs. And, I'm the only, my whole family's the only white people I've seen today. It's just a different thing. But I think long-term, your kids are going to be like unbelievably grateful and knowledgeable. And the biggest thing, they'll be fearless in a lot of ways that a lot of us, tend to grow up of fearing the other, so to speak. So.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I mean, like it's America is such a huge country, and like you don't have to leave America to see beautiful places and meet like but to step out of our comfort bubble of America and see the world and go to a third world country. I mean, that's a priceless trip by itself. I constantly ask the kids, like, is it anything else that you wanted to, what you felt was amazing in India? What did you enjoy? What was not so good? We're still talking about it every time, so I know
just got home.
like, home for a couple of days. So it's great. I love sharing it. I love talking about it because I just felt like the organizers for the Indian Open, they deserve all the credit. They did it well. They got people out there, and not just the Bollywood actors that came, but also Bopana, who is the #1 men's doubles in the world right now in tennis. Right. He came. He played some pickleball. Came. She's one of my favorite doubles players that I used to watch. She's about my age. She retired much too young in tennis, but she came out there. She's the equivalent of Billie Jean King for us in America. She is. She's the face of female athletes in India, and she came out and came to play some pickleball, and it was just
fantastic.
It was incredible. I mean, it was well done, and was it perfect? No, we played a lot of pickleball. I had long days, but that's a fact. I mean, we went there to play pickleball, so that's on us. But it was well done to them.
Yeah, it is going to be fascinating to see as the years go. What because you always learn from what worked, what didn't work, and to see and to hit it out of the park like that right away. This event's only going to be getting better. So that's pretty cool to see.
They're so eager. They wanted our feedback. We're giving them feedback in the aspect like we're going to be bigger and better. Come back in August. So we're going back in August.
Wow, that's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll touch base again then. So let's finish up here. But what you got going really that you're looking forward to for the rest of 2024 or the near future in 2024, and then some people and sponsors you'd like to thank for obviously helping you along the way.
Yeah, I am looking forward to out to Mesa for the PPA Arizona Mesa tournament next week with 2 new partners, Elise Jones and Martin Emmerich. Excited to
nice partners.
With these 2. Awesome partners, some feisty partners,
some serious, fierce partners.
Yeah, so super excited to start that journey next week, and then I'll be going out to Sacramento, continuing on the APP tour, my APP family, and obviously it's lots of exciting events to come, more schedule announcements. I'm sure will be coming up as when it comes to global events, when it comes to MLP events, hopefully at some point. Still a very fluid calendar at this point, but yeah. I mean, from a standpoint of shout outs, definitely a huge shout out to Gamma and Leo Rivet, 2 brands that support me on and support my family on this journey for us to chase this dream. And it's been a phenomenal ride, and I just want to keep dreaming.
Yeah, right on. All the information that we've talked about and Megan's mentioned is in the description, folks. So go down there, check out the links for everything, including the Indian Open, and I'll put the link to the taped live stream so people can get a chance to look at it. Because if you watch the matches and you just pay attention to the noise that's going on, it's very electric. There's like this buzz around the match, and then there's the match going on. So I was just as fascinated with what was watching with people around watching this high level sport in a very tight quarters, which is really cool because it's kind of like a little stadium. So check out that below because even though you're not there, you get at least a sense of what was happening and the focus you had to maintain because it was electric.
Yes, it was. so fun. And Caitlin Kerr, actually the MC for MLP, was out there. She flew out there and did a lot of and brought a lot of the energy. And a huge shout out to her. She so it was very, very cool. It was just nice. A well-designed tournament that as energy to go back.
Right on. Well, thanks for your time, Megan, and we'll hopefully catch up with you later because I think you got a lot of traveling in your future and being not only a pro, but obviously an ambassador to the game. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
Hope you enjoyed our interview with Megan Fudge. Check out everything about her in the description below. And hey, folks, at the end of the day, let's pickle.